Hello, my name is Dan Dodds. I'm the principal attorney at the Dodds Law Firm in Surprise, Arizona. I decided I wanted to talk to you today about identifying the pros and cons of an irrevocable trust. An irrevocable trust is one that is very difficult to change. There are circumstances, and I'll talk about it briefly, but essentially they're very difficult to change. But they can provide a good, reasonable alternative for certain types of folks that have a lot of wealth, either through assets or income, but they're worth a lot of money. Most people like you and I, we don't use irrevocable trust, and you'll see why in a few moments. There are 4 pros. One is protection of assets. If I put all my valuable real estate, except perhaps my home, in an irrevocable trust, and then someone sues me and they get a judgment against me, they can't go and touch any of the assets that are in that revocable trust, because in simplistic terms, I gave it away. I gave it to this irrevocable trust. So they could only come after the assets that I can control. A second pro is it can be used for tax planning purposes. Generally speaking, property that you placed in an irrevocable trust typically is not considered to be property of your estate because you gave it away. So tax planning can be a reason you would do that, set up an irrevocable trust. The third reason is irrevocable trust can be extremely advantageous if you anticipate you're going to need to participate in Medicare or other types of government programs. For instance, let me use myself as an example, since I don't want to offend anybody. Let's say that I developed significant dementia and I had to be institutionalized, or I had to be put in a care facility because my dementia is too severe that my family couldn't take care of me. Medicare would require that many of my assets be liquidated and that money turned over to Medicare so that that money could be used to pay for my care. Then Medicare would kick in and continue to pay. If I'm worth too much money, I would be barred from using Medicare till those assets were liquidated. The fourth reason that's a pro, I think, is what happens if you have an irresponsible heir. You can put conditions in your irrevocable trust, and let me give you a quick example, unfortunately, that's too prevalent in our society today, and that is heirs who either currently have or likely to have an alcohol or drug addiction problem. You can put conditions in there that would prevent them from just taking the money and buying alcohol and drugs. And your attorney can advise you as to how that can be done. So the 4 pros: protection of assets, tax planning, Medicare and participation in government programs, and irresponsible heirs wasting all your money. What are the cons? Why don't more people use irrevocable trust? Well, irrevocable trusts are difficult to revoke or to change. It can be done, but typically it requires the agreement of the trustor and every one of the heirs that irrevocable trust can be pulled back or can be changed. So it's like once you put it in there, you need to be pretty confident that you're never going to need it and you're never going to change it. You can't cut heirs out. You can't put more heirs in. unless you have 100% essentially agreement on the part of the trustor and the beneficiaries, the heirs. The one that really is more common is people don't want to lose total control over those assets. And if they put it in a trust, that's exactly what 99% of the time happens. So that's a significant con. So here's my caution, and I can't underscore this more importantly. Do not go and get some document off the internet that reports to be an irrevocable trust and create it. Do not do that. If you want an irrevocable trust, there's two critically important people you want to retain. A knowledgeable, experienced attorney that's dealt with irrevocable trust, and your certified public accountant that understands the tax implications. So it's not for the lighthearted. It can be very useful, but typically the only people that use irrevocable trust are people who have substantial wealth that they don't immediately need, but they want that money to be available for either charities or churches or specific heirs. Well, I hope this information's been helpful to you about gaining some understanding and an introduction to irrevocable trust. Have a good day.